Hello everyone and welcome to Project Ascension Hub. My name is Halen and today I want to show you a build that I made for fun. That's right. Sometimes we just want to make a build to have fun and not to do the most damage or to, I don't know, achieve some goal besides fun. And that is because I've been playing a game called Last Epoch for the last week or so, I guess. And in Last Epoch, I chose to build a Primalist Beastmaster that centers around a scorpion pet. So here, as you can see, we've taken a scorpion pet, and we can't make it do all the things that we can in Last Epoch, like spew out tons of poison and do a lot of damage, but I decided to challenge myself to make a build that sort of does the same thing, resembles that hero or that character that I built in Last Epoch, and have some fun in one of my other favorite games, Project Ascension. So let's go ahead and queue up for a dungeon so we can go have some fun with this. In the meantime, I'll explain what the build does. Like in Last Epoch, we're trying to, one, empower our pet to do as much damage as possible. I do have my pet separated up here in my DPS meter so you can see how much damage it does do. Even though we've taken a lot of talents, and I've even removed some talents that increase its damage by like 20-25%. Whenever it only does around 1000 DPS, those numbers don't really mean much. So even though I've gone super heavy into the pet buffing synergy, it doesn't account for much of the damage. But what I've done is try to keep all the ones that are a little more active. If I just type in pet here, and there's going to be a few more for beast, we have a lot of talents that buff ourselves and our pet whenever we build combo points and spend combo points. So Cobra Combo, Agile Coordination, Focused Hunt, and Pack Tactics are all really good ones. We also have Double Team here, which increases the beast's special attack damage by 70%. That's quite a bit. And the other unfortunate thing about pets, or at least this pet, the scorpion, is that in World of Warcraft, the scorpion is kind of like a tank pet. It's not really a damage pet. And it does have a poison that it can put on a single target. It doesn't do much damage, but we have those talents to boost up the damage as much as possible. And it also has claw. So maybe towards the end of the video, I'll go pull out a different pet, maybe some pets that are known for better DPS. And we'll see what kind of numbers we can put out with those instead of a tank pet. Now I said in Last Epoch that the scorpion is normally going to be spewing out poison, and we actually have something very similar in Project Ascension. We have Poison Nova, but instead of it coming from our pet, it comes from us. And this is our combo finisher, or one of them. It does very good damage, and there's actually a built-in combo in Poison Bomb Combo that says casting Eviscerate and Venom, which the only one of these that we're using here are in Venom and Poison Nova. It reduces the cooldown of Poison Bomb, and it causes our Poison Bomb to deal 1000 nature damage, increased by Poison Bomb combo stacks up to 3. Poison Bomb is, well, you throw a bomb and it builds up stacks of deadly poison on the targets. But it also gives a buff where our Poison Nova does more damage to those targets affected by Poison Bomb. So we can already see kind of the cycle here where one buffs the other. We get Poison Bomb off a cooldown really quickly by casting Envenom and Poison Nova, and we can also make it do more damage, or do damage besides the stacks. And then when we cast Poison Bomb, we debuff our targets so that those other abilities do more damage. We immediately see the crossover or the overlap between combo spenders and builders for the pet buffs. And then when we start looking at options for that, we see things that also align with poison. Now I'm a little familiar, actually I'm really familiar with all the poison synergies in the game, because one of the main builds that I have played is the Locust Ranger, which there is a build guide for on the channel. It's from level 60, but it pretty much holds up for level 70. You just add a bunch of damage boosting talents. But this time I get to play in melee range, so I get to take advantage of a lot of things that I didn't get to on the Locust Ranger build, because it is a ranged build. So obviously we're going to have poisons to put on our weapons. And there's going to be instant poison for the main hand, which deals damage, or it has a chance to deal instant damage. And then we have deadly poison, which builds up stacks on the target and does damage over time. I pretty much just typed in poison over here in the builder and started just adding a lot of things to a architect build until I started seeing more and more of those overlapping abilities and talents. There's like 3 different groups of things going on. First, you have the serpent form stuff, and we could have done that, but I decided against it because I wanted to stay true to the last epoch character and be in humanoid form. And poison bomb cannot be used in shapeshifted form, but poison nova can, or at least in cat form. But anyways, I wanted to stay humanoid, so that eliminated that. And then there's also another set of things that are kind of built around some warrior abilities, which has heavy bleed synergy with poison. And we also have that going on. We have bleed and poison, but we're mostly poison related. And then I started seeing one ability pop up a lot, and that was mutilate. One of the talents that looks really good is festering wound, where we can essentially boost up our nature damage, which is all these poison abilities and our poisons themselves. They're all nature damage. So we can get a buff that stacks up to 6 times, giving us 12% extra damage. That is huge for one single talent. We also have natural energy, which makes our mutilate critical strikes reduce the cooldown of Hunger of Blood by 1 second, which is a very short cooldown ability that gives us bonus damage depending on how many bleeds we have on the target. So that gets us into our bleed synergy. And then we start seeing mutilate pop up in other bleed talents, like dealing periodic damage with the rend can give us bloody strikes, making our mutilate do more damage and giving us toxic strikes. So we'll talk about those in a second. And we can also make mutilate refresh the duration of our rend. And why would we want to do that? Well, rend, there's a lot of versions of it. Right now I only have normal rend and Hydra's venom, which counts as a bleed and a poison. And we can automatically apply rend through Blades of Blood, which all we have to do is cast Whirlwind after we charge in, which we will be doing. And I was really excited about this combo because there's this ability called Flanking Strike, and it makes your pet charge in with you. However, this does not use charge modifiers. So, Blades of Blood, you don't get that buff whenever you use Flanking Strike, which was very disappointing, and I feel like this is an easy win for the Ascension team to just add that little text on there. I don't think it's going to be breaking anything. We also have Hydra's Fang, so our rend critical hits gives us this buff, and we can consume 3 stacks of it to deal an additional 267 nature damage. So if we can have multiple rends, we can technically have up to 4 on the target. This can be popping off like all the time and giving us tons of free nature damage, and the rest of our kit is boosting nature damage. And to make rend critically strike, we need to take either battle stance or this talent right here, cruelty. I chose to take cruelty because I am building this with strength, because strength just gives us the most raw power, and this build is mostly stuff that just wants to scale off of pure attack power. We're not actually casting spells. Most of the things are like melee damage abilities. So I decided, and actually after some testing, I used both an agility set and my strength set that were literally the same eye level. They were both 127 item level. Both of them had like tier 5 set bonuses, which are really easily attainable through caches from the call board. And the numbers were clear. All the abilities were just hitting almost 40 to 50% harder with the strength set. And it makes cruelty that much better. And then instead of going with battle stance, which we kind of make use of the armor pen that we get from battle stance, but I took aspect of the beast because it gives me and my pet 5% attack power. So the reason we're taking in venom is so that we can make use of the toxic strikes and venom coated blade talents, which I just carded in right before I started recording. I just carded in the stuff that I didn't get through rolling, and I don't even want to tell you how many marks of Ascension I spent on this silly build. But hey, fun is the focus. But in Venom, just want to focus back in on Poison Nova. It increases the damage that the target takes from our deadly poison, envenom, and instant poison by 20%. So what we'll essentially be doing is alternating between Poison Nova and Envenom as our combo point spenders. And all the meanwhile, as we're dealing damage with instant poison, we're getting Toxic Strikes, which stacks up to 10. Excuse me, it stacks up to 19. And we can consume up to 10 at a time to superpower our Envenom. And our Deadly Poison gives us Mortal Sting stacks, which also can be consumed by Envenom, and then it makes our instant poisons do more damage. So this one we won't be proccing as often. We definitely see huge value from this talent and stuff like the Locust Ranger, where we're casting Chimera Shot like all the time. And this is also a good example of that different archetype of the poison bleed build. As you see, there's Mortal Strike in these. So I think there is an ambidextrous or some sort of warrior build that does a lot of the same things that we're doing here, but probably doesn't do the poison bomb, poison nova stuff. It just rotates through some warrior abilities and maybe tosses out some envenoms. And then whenever we cast Envenom at 5 combo points, we can get the stack of Bathe in Blood. And we are going to be doing a lot of bleeds. I already talked about the Wrens. We have Deadly Bite, which introduces another part of this build, which is Mongoose Bite and Raptor Strike. We'll talk about those in just a little bit. Deep Wounds. And I guess that's it for the bleeds. And a reason why we want to have bleeds and poisons, besides the stuff that I already pointed out, is that there's also a talent called Envenom that allows us to deal 10% additional damage with rogue poisons whenever the target is bleeding. I still have Bloodthirst on here that actually didn't work out, but whenever we have a target bleeding, it makes our hunger for blood last for a long time. So the more bleeds we have, the longer it can go, and we also can take this off cooldown pretty fast with natural energy that we talked about already, I think. And there's our dungeon, so we're gonna go into that. But real quick, I think this might be the last little thing, is we also have Mongoose Bite, because we can get Wild Aggression, which increases the damage of our rogue abilities by 20%. It's actually a really huge buff. And it also gives us Bleed that does a lot of damage. We'll see it in the damage meters. And we also have some fun stuff with our pet, with Cobra Strikes. So let's go in this dungeon and hopefully not screw things up too bad. One other synergy I didn't talk about was this Deadly Follow-Up, which is a different version of Shiv. Really the only synergy with it is Bloodbane, and it has a chance to reset itself whenever we spend combo points. Don't even know if we have poisons on. We do not. Well, that's a problem. Don't mind me, y'all, just putting on some poisons on my weapon. Okay, there we go. We also have Kingsbane, which just does huge damage and works really well with poisons, or it works with poisons just period. I need to get used to applying my Wrens with charge. Okay, so we're doing about 20,000 DPS on our multi-targets. Not that crazy, but let's see if we can just get used to the rotation a little bit more and get better. I tried to make some weak auras, but they seem to be failing me right now, so I might need to work on those. I also did some testing with Poison Nova and just doing Poison Nova on single targets. I didn't have Toxic Strikes and all those other things that interact with Envenom at the time yet, but it seemed to be doing really good damage on single target as well. So we're pretty much just cycling through Mutilate, doing some Novas, and then anytime Poison Bomb's off cooldown, we do Poison Bomb. And we are picking up our damage as we get warmed up here. We have quite a few cooldowns. I'm not using not using all of them. Oh, I'm getting hit. And I'm dead. Just like that. Okay. Alright, so we did 25k on that fight. Oh, and I forgot to look at my pet. Where's my pet at? Oh, my pet is dead. Okay. Well, there goes that. So this little weak aura up here on the left, this is the Vile Infliction debuff that my Poison Nova gives out. And when I was talking about earlier that we're cycling in Venom and Poison Nova, essentially we want to make sure that we cast a Poison Nova when that's about to run out. And if we manage to get combo points fast enough, we can maybe fit in 2 Envenoms before we have to recast the Nova. Which I should have casted in Venom right there. Oh, I can do it now, I guess. Still not the best timing. And the other cool thing about the Mongoose, not only does it give us our buff for 20% damage, it will also give us like 40 or 50 energy, which is really good. It almost makes it so that we can ignore or do without some of the energy regeneration talents. Why is this thing moving so much? Please stop. Okay, well, I don't know why that boss was moving so much. But, yeah, we have boosted our damage a little bit. I did some damage testing before I added these skill cards here. And we took the Sheer Power, which is like the new... Oh, that wasn't last boss. I don't know what I'm thinking. We took the Sheer Power, which is like the new competitor for mental quickness, and it's built for builds that are not exactly doing actual hybrid builds. Like if you're not casting spells, things that scale mostly off of spell power, which is this build. So that's why we took that. And I have to say, like single target, we were barely topping like 10,000 DPS. So just adding these 4 things or 5 things here, I'm pretty sure Hunger of Blood being off cooldown all the time. We're adding like 10% damage here, a lot of damage there. Hydra Fang is a lot of free damage. Yeah, all that stuff stacks up. And it's just passive things. It's not something that you're actively doing. I mean, it just happens. What? Why do I thought this was a different... I thought this was just the stun. It's not. Oh, in Last Epoch, my character has a jump. So we took Heroic Leap to be role players. Oh, you know what? I just realized something. I made a macro for Poison Nova to also cast one of my pet cooldowns. And I just realized that it wasn't on my bar in the right place. So maybe that will help improve. Okay, I had to fix my macro, so I'm a little bit behind on DPS. We can look at the DPS here. As you can see, even on single target. Whoops, single. Oh wow, we did more damage than I thought there. Oh no, is the server going down again? I think it did. Well, that was good timing. Well, we'll be back once the server reconnects. So let's review some of the damage that we did to that final boss. As you can see, Mutilate did do most of the damage. Actually, let's click overall. Yeah, Poison Nova does a little bit more whenever we factor in all the trash pools and everything. But Mutilate pretty much is our main damage dealer. But on the final boss, we really pumped up our Deadly Poison. So this one, this Deadly Poison 7, because it's lower, I think this is the normal one. And then this one, I think this one is the damage from buffing it up through Bloodbane, which makes it do 200% more damage. I mean, even that doesn't make sense. Oh, I was looking at the credit switch places. Actually, it does make sense. So yeah, this one does well over 2 times the amount of this average, and we could have had other buffs up at the time, snapshotting essentially. It's not really snapshotting, but you know, it's gaining benefit from some buffs while we also had Bloodbane up. And you can see that it made it jump up to our number 2 spot. Like we did 16.5% of our total damage with just that one thing. And if you add that up, technically Deadly Poison did more damage than our hardest hitting ability. And that's crazy. And then Kingsbane, we only casted it one time during that whole fight. And as you can see here, it did 10% just with the dot. And then, okay, we'll round it up to 10 with the 0.8 down there, 10.5% of our damage. In Venom, we only casted it twice. So yeah, in Venom does tons of damage. We only casted it 5 times, and it again was almost 5% of our damage. And it's also enabling other parts of our build. Instant Poison, don't really have to do much. It's just getting buffed up from all these other sources. Is there another Instant Poison in here by chance? No, there's not. Okay. Deadly Bite. So this one was very surprising for me. Whenever I came across this talent, I didn't really think anything of it. I just thought, well, it's a bleed, and I'm already casting Raptor Strike, or excuse me, Mongoose Bite, so we may as well just do it. And then I went on the target dummy and started, looking at numbers, and I was so surprised at how much damage this bleed does. So not only is it doing more for us by giving us another bleed for Hunger for Blood and any other bleed benefits that we have mixed in here, but it's also just doing a lot of damage. And that talent, it also boosts Raptor Strike damage, which I remembered Raptor Strike is off the global cooldown, and we can just weave it into our normal rotation without it really doing anything. So I got Raptor Strike and put it in, and that actually brings me to my mega macro. Look at all the things we're doing just automatically by casting Mutilate. So every time we're pressing this button, we're casting Mutilate, but we're also doing all these other abilities that are not on the global cooldown. So we're casting Kill Command, Heroic Strike, Bestial Wrath, Blade Flurry, Hunger for Blood, and Raptor Strike. That's pretty fun. And Blade Flurry, we actually do have a few synergies for that. I just realized that Bloodbath and Blade Flurry share a cooldown. So, which one do we really want? Well, I thought Blade Bath was just going to be a free extra bleed, but since it shares a cooldown with Blade Flurry, that's not going to be the case. So, it looks like we're going to say goodbye to Bloodbath. It doesn't really seem to have any other huge synergy with anything else here. So we'll just unlock that so we can take care of that later. Oh yeah, let's get back in the queue. This time, let's replace our pet with a pet that is not a tank and see how the damage might change. You know what? I just realized my pet was on passive that whole dungeon. Okay, Scorpion, come over here. Let's show him what you can do. Okay. Let's just hit the training dummy for a little bit so we can show what kind of damage we can put out. We also have stuff, again, fun, like Stampede. And this does more damage whenever Bestial Wrath, I believe, is active. Yeah, which is built into our Mutilate. So we want to make sure that we cast Mutilate first before we click that button. Oh, I forgot to charge in to apply my stuff. Okay. So let's look at that fight that we just did on the training dummy. As you can see, here we only did about 17,000 damage, 18,000 if you count the pet, but yeah, the pet does not do that much damage. Let me see if I have a different pet in my vanity. I mean, I know I do, but let's see, what kind of pets do we want? I think a wolf. Yeah, I think we want a wolf. So let's just get this coyote. I don't know if it matters if we dismiss our pet or not. Okay, cool. So now we have a wolf pet. We'll see what kind of damage difference it makes. Oh yeah, and we get Furious Howl, which is really good. So this should overall be a pretty big damage increase. I will say this build is really fun to just do AoE on. I think we are doing respectable damage. It's not crazy. And this is kind of my whole problem with balance in the game right now, is that we are going full in on a very niche build. And it is not doing anywhere near the amount of damage as some other builds do in this game. I would expect a build like this, the amount of rerolls and everything we've put into it, I would expect it to do at least 50 to 75,000 AoE damage. Almost double what it's doing right now. And my gear is not super crazy. Yeah, I think it should be doing more. Well, we're really getting an opportunity to put this build to the test here because our squad doesn't seem to be doing much damage. Fortunately, our healer is keeping up. Okay. So their Deadly Poison was our #1 damage dealer, probably because we got feared so much, and our Deadly Poison just got to go to town while we were sitting there afraid. And because Poison Bomb allows us to apply Deadly Poison in a AoE fashion, getting that 200% boost from casting Shiv is actually really valuable. If we were to take this into a Mythic Plus, I probably would want to get some utility, like an Interrupt. I'd probably drop this Flanking Strike and that Paladin ability that I realized I still had. How's our pet doing, though? Interesting. Not that much better than what our other pet was doing. But I wonder how much he's contributing to helping me because of this 164 attack power buff. I mean, that's a good amount. I have a macro for Poison Nova that, Poison Bomb, that cast it on my player model. So I do not have to click. I don't have to press the button to cast and then click on the ground where I want it to go. It just drops where I'm going. So it's kind of like a Poison Consecration. I also just realized that I'm not using Slice and Dice. This is the best situation where I can test this build without going into a mythic, having some teammates that don't deal that much damage, so it allows me enough time to go through my rotation a few times. Let me charge in, apply my Rins. Deadly Boss Mods, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm not moving out of this Consecration. And that's getting quite annoying. I'm curious as to what these other people are playing. I guess this is a Thunder Slam thing. Yeah, there's Thunder Slam. And then this is Exorcist / One with the Light build. Wow. Those builds are really strong. I mean, new or geared or not, but surprising that it's more surprising that they're doing that little damage than that I'm doing more than them. Well, hopefully old boy didn't die while we were fighting that guy for 20 minutes. So I will say that my gear, this is the gear that I use for my Crush build, which needs a lot of armor pen. I don't think we care that much about armor pen here, so we could itemize a little bit differently to get even more damage. We do value a lot of crit. We're already at 59, 50, yeah, that was where it procs up, but we do have a lot of crit already. We have some 6% extra crit whenever we are using rogue abilities. Okay, I think after that, we can confidently say that this build is a, let's say, top end of like 30,000 DPS build. Did I not have my pet out again on that last fight? It's dead? Okay, well, I think if we had our pet, maybe we'd have done even more. It's interesting to see that that last fight, that Mutilate was actually #1 damage. And I think it really depends on whether or not the Bloodbane procs off of our Shiv or Deadly Follow-Up. And I almost wonder if it's worth it getting normal Shiv, because it will give us a combo point. It will not give us the guaranteed instant poison off of our main hand, but we could just use it until we got the buff, or we could just weave it in every single time. We could do Shiv, Mutilate, Combo Spender, Shiv, Mutilate, Combo Spender, and then we'd have to do a Mongoose Bite in the middle somewhere in there, and then Poison Bomb. So maybe that's one way to make it better, but overall I think I kind of pulled the spirit of my last Epoch character and put it into this build. And you could probably take this and go into a group, definitely like low Mythic plus, probably up to like Mythic plus 5, and then after that, you know, you might need to get carried or something. Oh, you know what? And also my gear is not even optimized for a lot of different reasons. This set bonus is also for armor penetration and for deep wounds, which deep wounds is not very valuable on a build where you're using daggers because it scales off of your weapon damage, and daggers aren't that much weapon damage. As you can see, it's down here at number 14, doing 2% of our damage. It also adds another bleed to make sure that our hunger for blood buff stays up pretty much the whole time. So hunger for blood essentially gives us 10% extra damage. These are the ones that's kind of weird. Is it better just to take a 3% extra damage to everything talent instead? Blade Flurry is actually really good, I'm noticing, because just the damage from that adds 5%. And we also took Blade Vortex, which adds a little bit more damage. I think it's just kind of fun. On AoE pulls, it does quite a bit. Raptor Strike actually does not account much for damage, but it is free damage. We're not really doing anything to get it. And it's in an ability spot, so usually you have a lot of room for abilities. Same thing with Heroic Strike, it's just kind of free. Stampede is one of those like flavor choices. During that dungeon, I really tried to cast it as much as possible, and I think it actually does decent damage, and it's just a fun ability. And for pet builds, it's increasing damage that your pet does. So, did I do a good job at making my last Epoch character in World of Warcraft? Also, did you like this kind of video? Do you like these ideas that I have, and then I, put them into effect to see how it plays? What kind of other information or details would you like to see from these kinds of videos? Let me know down in the comments so that I can adjust to make better videos in the future. And if you are interested in building this, I will be saving it in the Hero Architect. Just search Project Ascension Hub and you will see all of my builds and experiments, things I have going on. I will save this one right now after this recording so that it's the version that I used in the video. Thank you so much for watching the Project Ascension Hub. My name is Halen, and I'll see you in the next one.